Chin claims her former tenant damaged the bathroom pipes when he cleared a clog. Emmett Carson says he had to take care of it himself after he waited a month for a plumber. Mr. Carson is countersuing for $900.
Okay, I see I have Delia Chin here as my plaintiff. Ms. Chin, you are suing for $2,145. Emmett Carson as my defendant. Mr. Carson, I see you have a countersuit here for $900. Ms. Chin, why are we in court today?
So, Mr. Carson was my tenant, my short-term tenant, and he had a clogged shower drain, and I took a lot of measures to get it fixed. There were certain things that happened, a holiday, a storm, which prevented anyone from getting through the city, and he took it upon himself to put a drain dissolve down the pipe, which caused the pipe to dissolve and cause a lot of water damage. We had to get an emergency plumber to come in. There was plaster that had to be replaced. There was so much damage. I was able to get an emergency plumber in that day within a few hours after he called me to shut off the water, and he came back the next day to fix the damage. But under no conditions was he ever supposed to handle this himself. We were in constant communication, and I had no idea that he would do such a thing to cause so much damage to my property.
Woo, that is quite a hefty allegation there. Mr. Carson, what do you have to say for yourself, sir?
Your Honor, all I will say is that I didn't cause any damage. I just awoken the damage that was already there. The drains were very old, yes. The drains were very old, and I just used the over-the-counter drain cleaner that my castmates have used and all of America has used. And all I did was use that, and all it showed was that she did not properly replace the pipes like she was supposed to. We finally got a plumber to come in, and the plumber that came in said the plumber beforehand didn't do a good job with cleaning the pipes and everything. So that is why the cause of it. I was just, you know, the unlucky tenant at the time to have to experience this. And I do have a plethora of evidence as well. I have pictures and I have videos as well to show the emotional damage that I went through with those drains.
Emotional.
When you said castmates earlier, Mr. Carson, could it be that you were in the theater?
Yes.
Okay. Something was giving me a flair for the dramatics.
Yes.
Okay, why don't you give this plethora of evidence to my bailiff here, sir, so I can take a look.
Thank you.
Let me just have your entire folder, please.
Here you go.
Thank you, sir.
Here's the plethora.
There's the plethora. Okay. Okay,
I also have video evidence as well.
Okay, that hence more plethora. Okay. All right, let's see here for the plasma some of this evidence so we could get a visual as to what we're looking at here.
So as you can see, it's the cracked ceilings right there. You're going to show the bowls that I had to use, and I don't have many dishes and everything, so I had to use my only dishes. That's my friend indicating some stuff right there for me and everything, you know.
And where was that?
This was in my bedroom. So it's basically downstairs is going to be my bedroom and the kitchen, and then upstairs is going to be the bathroom, as well as like another living area that I just kind of use as a practice room.
So that water was coming from that bathroom down to your bedroom.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. What do you have to say about that, Ms. Chin? That is a horrific living situation, yes?
It was horrible, yes. What he said earlier about the plumber saying the pipes weren't fixed properly might be true. I'm not a plumber, but the plumber also said that the drain dissolve did partially cause the damage.
Okay. There are some more photos. We can see some of the photo damage here. Okay, so that's that's the plaster you were talking about, Ms. Chin?
Correct.
Okay. So this has since been replastered?
Correct.
Okay. Wow. Oh my God. What a mess.
I'm just thankful my bed wasn't there. I don't know what could have happened.
I don't know that any of us would have survived it.
Exactly.
I don't know. No, but this is, in all seriousness, this is some pretty dangerous stuff. You would agree, Ms. Chin?
Correct, I do.
Okay. Let's look at this lease agreement. This is between the two of you. Short-term lease, 1 year, for $900 a month rent. So that's your countersuit amount, Mr. Carson?
Yes, because I decided to move away immediately and I wanted my money back.
I do see a string of emails here from you to Ms. Chin. Okay, so now we're a month out, Ms. Chin, just to know. That's a month from the original disaster.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
I knew that we had a scheduled appointment with the plumber to come.
Which was for when then?
Which was for the 20th.
Okay.
which I understand is late, but
That's a month late.
And later,
I agreed to do that because I care.
You love her.
I care. Yes. Yes, of
That
course.
was what we call begrudgingly. Okay.
with the case of Delia Chin, who blames former tenant Emmett Carson for damaged bathroom pipes.
I was told by the plumber that you had used drain dissolver to cause this whole mess. I'm sending you the bill.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so
I
that-
had no idea when he put the drain dissolve down. I knew that we had a scheduled appointment with the plumber to come,
Which was for when, ma'am?
which was for the 20th,
Okay.
which I understand is late, but
That's a month late. Okay. I understand your frustration. I'm frustrated too. This is for Mr. Carson. I dealt with the drain for over a month with no help. You are at fault here. I'm showering in my own filth. Oh. Okay. This was not my fault. Everything you asked of me. You are to blame. I already paid my rent for the month. I will be vacating the premises. So you have found a new place to live, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So you've paid for these repairs already, Ms. Chin?
Correct.
So your home is recovered. And do you have a tenant in your unit?
I do.
And you believe that Mr. Carson here should pay the full $2,145?
I do. My plumber told me it
And do
was
you
a
have,
drain
let me see
dissolve.
your receipts, Ms. Chin. Okay, weekend emergency fee, hazardous waste removal. So you spent $3,045. Why are you only suing for $2,145?
I have his security deposit, which was $900.
Oh, you kept his security deposit? Oh, okay. That's interesting. Why did you do a thing like that?
The security deposit is there for damage that is caused by the tenant.
I don't think that the court has decided that it was caused by the tenant yet, ma'am. Because at this point, there's an argument at least to be made, which is why y'all are in my courtroom today, that you contributed to the cause of your own home damage by an unreasonable delay in getting a professional out to handle this. This is your house, correct?
It is. It's one of my rental properties.
And how many rental properties do you have, Ms. Chin?
I have 3.
And has anything like this ever happened to you before?
No.
Okay. And you normally manage all of your own properties yourself?
I manage them, but I have contractors and people that will do the work.
Yes,
I don't do the
but
work.
you are the general property manager. How do you feel about her keeping your security deposit, sir?
Not good.
Oh,
Not
now
good
you
at
want to be
all, no.
succinct? Not good?
You know, no, I'm not too happy about losing out on $900. No.
Yeah. I don't know about that, Ms. Chin. I actually, when I first started reading the facts of this case, I was inclined to rule in your favor, to be candid with you, because I do believe that in theory, a tenant who is not the owner of the home has no business doing anything by virtue of self-repair because it's not your property, sir, right? That would be the argument. However, the more and more I learn about this case, this email chain, quite frankly, I think is the smoking gun here, Ms. Chin. I don't feel that you're putting forth a reasonable good faith effort for a speedy repair. Well, how would you like washing in over an inch of dirty, nasty, filthy water for a month?
I understand. It's disgusting.
It
I
was
also
terrible,
understand
Your
that there were
Honor.
things that were out of my control.
Thank you.
The holiday and the storm.
Yeah, the holiday and the storm, though, Ms. Chin, you are accommodating that's
For
a 2-week delay.
Yeah,
that's a 2-week delay.
And I got him out there after those 2 weeks. The handyman was there after those 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Okay, this is how the court finds on this. I'm ready to rule. I think that the attitude from you, Ms. Chin, is a little too cavalier for me. It's a little too lackadaisical. I believe that you have prioritized your busyness and your time over Mr. Carson's. I think when you tell this court, well, my handyman's going to be there it's already late, right, on this date that is over 2 weeks after you first alerted. See, he did his duty. He alerted you the minute he recognized the problem. Now, had he not done that, I would be feeling totally differently about this case. Had he caused an undue delay by delaying his informing and notice to you about your property, that's a different story. Then the burden becomes on him. But he did the one thing he was supposed to do. He let the property owner know immediately there was a problem. all of this delay and the holidays and the storm, and I understand the storm is an act of God, which the court will not hold you responsible for. But after that, Ms. Chin, if it's my house and I'm also a property owner, baby, I'm calling every plumber within a 20-mile radius to get someone to fix that. Because as a property owner, Ms. Chin, we know the severity of a plumbing issue. Anything could have happened.
I do understand.
Well, you didn't act like it. Your actions didn't show me that you understood.
I got the plumber there.
Therefore, Ms. Chin, you have to eat the entirety of this amount. So much so that I'm dismissing your claim, Madam Plaintiff, and I am finding for the countersuit. I believe that you are owed back your security deposit. I believe that you had no business using no liquid Drano in this lady's house. However, due to the overwhelming delay of effort to fix the matter on the landlord's part, I believe that you did not cause this damage by yourself. The court rules in favor of the defendant's countersuit to $900. That's my ruling.
All rise.
Judge Eboni has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff is ordered to pay $900.
Any final words for each other?
I have money, I'm okay. $900, we're good.
I have money too. It's a matter of principle. You caused the damage.
Okay, you've had your day in court. Please grab your belongings and follow me.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
You are asking me for $700? What kind of man
Actually,
are you?
ma'am, $707.35.
Without the tip.
Without the tip. Okay, right. Because
He didn't leave a tip.
This is Equal Justice. Thomas Pierre claims his ex-girlfriend dumped him after she duped him into paying for an expensive business dinner. Sophia Blank says Mr. Pierre drank too much and mouthed off, so she lost out on a potential job.
I see I've got Thomas Pierre here as my plaintiff and Miss Sophia Blanc as my defendant. Mr. Pierre, I see you are suing this lady for $707.35. Tell me why you're in court today.
I just want Sophia to pay me back what she owes me because she asked me to pay for a dinner. It was a business meeting for her to find a new job. She wanted to invite partners of the company to be hired. We were in the relationship for 4 years.
Oh, so this was a very serious,
Yes.
very
Yes,
long-term serious girlfriend for
Yes.
4 years. So you're willing to do this for her?
Yes. I agreed to do that because I care.
You love her.
I care. Yes. Yes, of
That
course.
was what we call begrudgingly. Okay, okay, but
yes,
you say yes generously to support. Okay, great. So where did it all go wrong, sir?
I don't know what happened. She refused after the dinner. She refused. She was angry and.
She refuses to pay you back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stand by, sir. Ma'am, this is definitely not sounding like a complete story. Ms. Blanc, why are we in court today?
So this man was exactly my boyfriend for 4 years. I thought he was a perfect man, you know. We met at a party and it was a great first year. So he knew that this job would bring me more money. So of course he got an interest to help me. And now you are asking me for $700? What kind of man are you?
Actually, ma'am, $707.35.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
I just tried to make her understand that she just have to behave.
I knew he was gonna say that word. I knew. Did y'all? I knew it.
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with the case of Thomas Pierre, who is fighting with Sophia Blank over who should pay for a pricey dinner.
But now we still got the matter of the dinner, ma'am. Did the dinner happen?
The dinner happened, yes.
The dinner was successful?
The dinner was nearly successful until he ruined everything because he was jealous, probably drunk. I don't know how much glasses you've had. It was a good bottle, but you drank it all. So
Okay, so you're saying, ma'am, hold on, sir, let me get to the bottom here. He's saying that he did front you this money per your agreement. Did you agree to pay him back? Let's start with that.
Yeah.
Originally.
Let's start with the beginning.
originally I agreed to pay him back, but
Okay. So why did you, sir? No more of that. So he says that the dinner was to help you get this great new job. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Were you successful in that?
no, he ruined everything.
Okay, so you did not get that job.
Because of him, no.
And you saying that's because he was belligerent and drunk?
He was drunk, I'm sure of that, and he didn't like how I laughed at their jokes.
Okay, so he thought you were flirting.
He thought I was flirting, correct, yes.
Okay, is that true, sir?
She was flirting with them.
She was flirting.
Yes.
Ma'am, were
Then,
you flirting?
No, and he's a macho man. He even said at the dinner that I should know my place as a woman.
Oh.
So I got nervous, I got angry.
Is that true, sir? Do you kind of believe women have a place and it's to be seen and not heard?
It's not exactly what I
Sir,
said.
I can't understand.
I'm sorry.
I can't, and I was understanding just fine until this moment.
Yeah.
What was that? Do you believe that women should be seen and not heard, sir?
I just tried to make her understand that she just have to behave.
I knew he was gonna say that word. I knew. Did y'all? I knew it. I said you were gonna try to make her behave, right? Do you still love her?
I care for her, yes.
Okay. Even if she doesn't behave, right?
Yes.
Judge Eboni's verdict when equal justice returns. This is Equal Justice.
Okay, I do believe the court is ready to make a ruling here. Here's the situation. This man brought a claim to court, essentially a breach of contract, that you two had a meeting of the minds where he agreed to lend you the $707.35 for a professional work dinner, and you also agreed to pay him back. However, the court also recognizes that the spirit of the agreement is important, and the spirit of the agreement was to pay for this dinner so that she could advance her professional positioning. Now, if you come into this dinner, sir, ranting and raving and acting like a misogynist and having all this bravado and machismo energy that she's to behave and she's out of order, that's not going to do anything to advance her professional demeanor. You understand this? I hope that you do. So therefore, this court rules that although there was an agreement made, there was also a breach of said agreement, and it was not by her, sir, it was by you. The minute you showed up with this expectation of compliance from this grown adult woman in her work setting, you're out of order. Therefore, the court rules in favor of the defendant. Sir, I am dismissing your claim of $707.35 completely. Plaintiff's claim is dismissed. That's my ruling.
All rise.
Judge Eboni has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is dismissed.
The courtroom was a place of high ceilings and even higher stakes, but at the center of it all sat a woman who brought a unique blend of warmth and unyielding authority to the bench. On the polished wooden desk, a nameplate caught the light, and the words engraved upon it read Judge Eboni K. Ropes. For those entering this sanctuary of the law, that name represented the ultimate authority on how justice would be perceived and administered. Judge Eboni often looked at the people before her and reminded them that the only perspective that truly mattered in this particular courtroom was her own. She was a woman shaped by a rich tapestry of American culture, hailing from North Carolina by way of Louisiana. She possessed a certain West Coast cool that allowed her to remain calm under pressure, yet she balanced it with a sharp New York edge that ensured no one could lead her astray with falsehoods. She looked down at a woman standing before her and asked if there was a problem. The woman replied that she had none. For Judge Eboni, equal justice was not just a legal concept, but a reflection of the most important values of the country. It was about freedom and integrity. These were the things she strove for every single day as she listened to the voices of those who felt unheard. She often told the people in her court that while a woman might run her own household, a man had the right to run his as well. This sense of balance was what led her to become an attorney and pursue the law in the first place. She wanted to be a voice for the voiceless, a protector for those caught in the gears of conflict. In her eyes, the court was a place where people from all sectors of life came together. Whether they were black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer, they all stood on equal footing. This was the essence of equal justice with Judge Eboni K. Williams. The first case of the day involved a dispute that seemed simple on the surface, but was layered with frustration and broken expectations. Delia Chin, a property owner, was claiming that her former tenant had caused significant damage to the bathroom pipes when he attempted to clear a clog. On the other side stood Emmett Carson, who argued that he had no choice but to take matters into his own hands after waiting an entire month for a plumber who never arrived. Mr. Carson was not just defending himself, but was also countersuing for $900. As the proceedings began, Judge Eboni noted that the plaintiff, Ms. Chin, was suing for $2,145. She turned her attention to Ms. Chin and asked why they were in court today. Ms. Chin explained that Mr. Carson had been her short-term tenant. According to her, he had a clogged shower drain, and she had taken many measures to get it fixed. However, she pointed out that certain events beyond her control had occurred, including a holiday and a major storm which had prevented anyone from traveling through the city. Ms. Chin alleged that during this time, Mr. Carson took it upon himself to pour a drain-dissolving chemical down the pipe. She claimed that this substance caused the pipe to dissolve entirely, leading to extensive water damage throughout the property. She described the chaos that followed, mentioning that an emergency plumber had to be called in and that the plaster on the walls and ceilings had to be replaced. She insisted that under no conditions was the tenant ever supposed to handle such a technical repair himself. She felt betrayed because they had been in constant communication, and she had no idea he would do something so destructive to her property. Judge Eboni acknowledged that this was a hefty allegation. She then turned to Mr. Carson to hear his side of the story. Mr. Carson, who carried himself with a certain theatrical flair, denied causing any damage. He told the court that he simply woke up to find the damage already present. He argued that the drains were very old and that he had only used an over-the-counter drain cleaner that was commonly used by his castmates and millions of other people across the country. He suggested that the pipes had not been properly maintained or replaced by the landlord as they should have been. He even mentioned that a plumber who later visited the property had criticized the work of the previous plumber. Mr. Carson claimed he was simply the unlucky tenant who happened to be there when the old system finally failed. To support his claim, he mentioned that he had a plethora of evidence, including pictures and videos that captured the emotional and physical toll of the situation. When he mentioned his castmates, Judge Eboni smiled, noting his flair for the dramatics and asking if he worked in the theater. He confirmed that he did. The judge then asked him to hand over his plethora of evidence to the bailiff. As Judge Eboni reviewed the photographs, she saw images of cracked ceilings and water damage. Mr. Carson pointed out that the water had leaked from the upstairs bathroom down into his bedroom and kitchen. He showed pictures of the bowls he had to use to catch the dripping water, noting that he had to use his only dishes because the situation was so dire. Ms. Chin admitted that the situation was indeed horrible and conceded that the pipes might not have been fixed perfectly in the past, but she maintained that the drain dissolver was a major factor in the damage. The judge looked at the lease agreement, noting it was a short-term lease for 1 year with a monthly rent of $900. This was the same amount Mr. Carson was seeking in his countersuit, as he had decided to move out immediately and wanted his money back. A string of emails showed that the disaster had been ongoing for a month. Ms. Chin admitted that the appointment with the plumber was scheduled for the 20th, which was indeed a month after the initial problem was reported. Judge Eboni expressed her frustration, noting that waiting a month for a functional drain was an unreasonable expectation for any tenant. Mr. Carson described the experience of having to shower in his own filth because the water would not drain. Ms. Chin argued that she had already paid for the repairs and felt she was entitled to the full $2,145. She revealed that she had already kept his $900 security deposit to cover some of the costs. Judge Eboni questioned the legality of keeping the deposit before a court had even decided who was at fault. She pointed out that Ms. Chin, as a property manager with 3 rental properties, should have been more proactive. The judge noted that while a tenant should not typically perform their own repairs, the landlord had failed to provide a speedy and reasonable solution. She told Ms. Chin that her attitude was too cavalier and that she had prioritized her own schedule over the basic living needs of her tenant. The judge concluded that Mr. Carson had fulfilled his duty by notifying the landlord immediately. While the storm was an act of God, the subsequent delay was unacceptable. She ruled that Ms. Chin must bear the cost of the repairs herself. Judge Eboni dismissed the plaintiff's claim and ruled in favor of Mr. Carson's countersuit, ordering the return of the $900 security deposit. She noted that while he should not have used the chemicals, the landlord's overwhelming delay was the primary issue. The next case brought a different kind of tension into the courtroom. Thomas Pierre was suing his former girlfriend, Sophia Blank, for $707.35. He claimed that she had duped him into paying for an expensive business dinner and then broke up with him shortly after. Ms. Blank countered by saying that Mr. Pierre had behaved poorly during the dinner, causing her to lose a potential job opportunity. Mr. Pierre explained that they had been in a relationship for 4 years and that he had agreed to pay for the dinner because he cared for her and wanted to support her career. However, he felt bitter about the outcome. Ms. Blank told the judge that she had originally intended to pay him back, but the dinner turned into a disaster because Mr. Pierre became jealous and intoxicated. She claimed he was offended by her laughing at the jokes of her potential employers and that he had even made derogatory comments about a woman's place. Judge Eboni questioned Mr. Pierre about his beliefs, asking if he felt women should be seen and not heard. Mr. Pierre attempted to justify his actions by saying he was just trying to make her behave. This word choice resonated negatively in the courtroom. The judge recognized that while there was an agreement for the money to be a loan, the spirit of the agreement was to support Ms. Blank's professional advancement. By acting with such hostility and misogyny, Mr. Pierre had breached the very spirit of the deal. Judge Eboni ruled that Mr. Pierre's behavior was out of order. She dismissed his claim entirely, stating that his expectation of compliance from a grown woman in a professional setting was unacceptable. She ruled in favor of the defendant, leaving the former couple to go their separate ways. As the court adjourned, the judge's message was clear: integrity, respect, and responsibility were the cornerstones of justice, whether in a rental agreement or a personal relationship. The atmosphere inside the courtroom was thick with the scent of polished mahogany and the heavy weight of expectations. It was a space where the complexities of human lives were distilled into facts, evidence, and the pursuit of a concept as old as civilization itself, which is justice. At the center of this sanctuary of order sat the bench, and upon it was a nameplate that carried a significant weight. If one were to look closely and read the letters etched into the surface, they would see the name Judge Eboni K. Ropes. For the individual standing before her, that name represented the ultimate authority. In this particular courtroom, the only thing that truly mattered was how the woman behind that nameplate perceived the truth. Judge Eboni K. Williams began the proceedings by establishing her identity and the lens through which she viewed the world. She spoke with a voice that carried the warmth of North Carolina and the soul of Louisiana, tempered by a certain West Coast coolness and sharpened by a New York edge. She was a woman of vast experience, a tapestry woven from different corners of the country, and she brought every bit of that history to the bench. Before the first case could even begin, she looked toward the individuals in her court to ensure clarity. She asked if there was a problem, to which the woman standing before her quickly replied in the negative. The judge then articulated her core philosophy. To her, equal justice was not just a legal term, but a reflection of the most important values of the country: freedom and integrity. These were the ideals she strived for every single day. She reminded those present that while a person might run their own household, once they entered this space, the law reigned supreme. Her journey to this seat had been intentional. She had decided to become an attorney and pursue the law because she possessed a burning desire to be a voice for the voiceless. She stood for everyone, regardless of their background, whether they were black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer. That was the essence of equal justice under her watch. The first case involved a dispute between a landlord and a former tenant. Delia Chin, the plaintiff, stood on one side, while Emmett Carson, the defendant, stood on the other. The conflict centered on a series of damaged bathroom pipes and a significant amount of water damage. Miss Chin claimed that Mr. Carson had ruined the plumbing when he took it upon himself to clear a clog using a chemical agent. On the other hand, Mr. Carson argued that he had been forced to act because he had waited over a month for a professional plumber to arrive while living in deteriorating conditions. He was now countersuing for $900. Judge Eboni looked at the filings and noted that Miss Chin was suing for $2,145. She turned to the plaintiff and asked why they were in court today. Miss Chin explained that Mr. Carson had been her short-term tenant. According to her, the shower drain had become clogged, and she insisted she had taken numerous measures to fix it. However, she cited a series of unfortunate events, including a holiday and a major storm, which she claimed had prevented anyone from traveling through the city to perform repairs. She alleged that Mr. Carson had used a powerful drain dissolve product that was so caustic it actually dissolved the pipes themselves, leading to catastrophic water damage. She described the aftermath as a disaster involving emergency plumbers, replaced plaster, and extensive structural repairs. She maintained that under no circumstances was the tenant ever supposed to handle such repairs personally, especially since they were in constant communication. The judge turned to Mr. Carson to hear his side of the story. He began by stating clearly that he did not cause the damage. Instead, he claimed he simply woke up to find the damage already present because the drains were incredibly old. He admitted to using an over-the-counter drain cleaner, the kind he said all of America uses, but he argued that the real issue was the landlord failed to properly maintain and replace the aging pipes. He mentioned that a plumber who eventually arrived had criticized the work of previous contractors. Mr. Carson presented himself with a certain flair for the dramatics, something Judge Eboni noticed immediately. When she asked if he was in the theater, he confirmed it with a smile. He then offered what he called a plethora of evidence, consisting of photographs and videos that documented the emotional and physical toll of the situation. As Judge Eboni reviewed the evidence, the visual reality of the situation came to light. The photographs showed cracked ceilings and a bedroom downstairs that was being pelted by water leaking from the bathroom above. Mr. Carson explained that he had to use his limited supply of kitchen dishes and bowls just to catch the dripping water. Miss Chin admitted that the living situation was indeed horrific and acknowledged that the pipes might have been old, but she doubled down on the claim that the chemical drain dissolve had played a major role in the destruction. The images of the damaged plaster were jarring. Mr. Carson expressed his gratitude that his bed had not been positioned directly under the leak, suggesting that the situation could have been far more dangerous. Judge Eboni agreed, noting that such structural failures were indeed serious. The legal heart of the matter lay in the lease agreement and the timeline of communication. It was a short-term lease for 1 year with a monthly rent of $900. Mr. Carson explained that his countersuit for $900 was an attempt to recover his money because he had to move away immediately due to the conditions. The judge examined a string of emails that revealed a month-long delay from the original report of the problem to the scheduled arrival of a plumber. Miss Chin admitted that the plumber was not scheduled until the 20th of the month, which the judge pointed out was a full month late. In a moment of personal reflection during the testimony, Mr. Carson mentioned that he had agreed to certain things because he cared for the people involved. When the judge asked if he loved the landlord, he clarified that he simply cared, though his tone suggested a certain level of begrudging frustration. The case was a tangle of responsibilities and failures. Miss Chin had already paid for the $3,045 in repairs, using the $900 security deposit from Mr. Carson to cover part of the cost, which was why she was suing for the remaining $2,145. Judge Eboni questioned the ethics of keeping the security deposit before a court had even decided who was at fault. She pointed out that Miss Chin, as a property manager of 3 different rental units, had a significant responsibility to maintain her properties. The judge found the landlord's attitude to be too cavalier and lackadaisical. She noted that Mr. Carson had fulfilled his duty as a tenant by immediately alerting the owner to the problem. While a storm is an act of God, the subsequent delay was unacceptable. The judge emphasized that as a property owner herself, she knew that a plumbing issue required immediate action, often involving calling every plumber within a 20-mile radius until a solution was found. Ultimately, Judge Eboni ruled that Miss Chin had to bear the entirety of the repair costs. The judge dismissed the plaintiff's claim and ruled in favor of the defendant's countersuit. She ordered Miss Chin to return the $900 security deposit to Mr. Carson. While the judge did not approve of the tenant using chemical cleaners in someone else's home, she believed the overwhelming delay on the part of the landlord was the primary cause of the crisis. Mr. Carson left the courtroom feeling vindicated, noting that for him, it was a matter of principle. The second case of the day brought a different kind of tension to the courtroom. Thomas Pierre, the plaintiff, was suing his former girlfriend, Sophia Blank, for $707.35. The dispute arose from an expensive business dinner that Mr. Pierre had paid for, under the impression that he would be reimbursed. He explained that they had been in a serious relationship for 4 years, and he had agreed to pay for the dinner to support her career. It was meant to be a professional meeting where Miss Blanc could impress potential partners and secure a new job. Mr. Pierre stated that he acted out of care and love, though he too seemed to harbor some resentment. Miss Blank's perspective was vastly different. She admitted that she had originally agreed to pay him back, but she claimed that the dinner turned into a disaster because of Mr. Pierre's behavior. She alleged that he had been jealous, had drunk too much wine, and had acted in a way that ruined her professional opportunities. She argued that his behavior was the reason she did not get the job. She described him as having a macho attitude, claiming that he had even told her during the dinner that she should know her place as a woman. Judge Eboni leaned in, focusing on the word behave. She asked Mr. Pierre if he truly believed that women should be seen and not heard. He attempted to clarify by saying he only wanted her to behave, a word that triggered an immediate reaction from the judge. She recognized the underlying power dynamic and the lack of respect inherent in such a statement. In her final ruling, Judge Eboni addressed the nature of the agreement between the two. While there was a verbal contract for reimbursement, the judge found that the spirit of the agreement had been breached by the plaintiff himself. The purpose of the dinner was to advance Miss Blank's professional position. By showing up with an attitude of misogyny and demanding compliance from a grown woman in a professional setting, Mr. Pierre had undermined the very goal of the event. The judge concluded that his behavior was out of order. Consequently, she dismissed the claim of $707.35 entirely, ruling in favor of the defendant. As the proceedings came to a close, the courtroom stood in respect of the law. Judge Eboni K. Williams had once again navigated the messy realities of human relationships and property disputes, seeking the integrity and freedom she had promised at the beginning of the day. The litigants moved on, having had their day in court, leaving behind a legacy of lessons learned about responsibility, respect, and the true meaning of equal justice. The mahogany benches remained, ready for the next story to be told, as the echoes of the gavel faded into the quiet afternoon.